So the bedding time and the yards per hour is how they measured this. So you got collared bucks, and what it is they had GPS collars on.
Yeah.
And they pinged every 15 minutes.
Okay.
This was a 2-year study.
Wow.
They did this for 2 years, and they just looked at moon position and moon phase related to deer movement over that whole period of time. And there's a bunch of variables in there.
So
like,
you had everything in there. You had pre-rut, post-rut, rut for
Okay.
2 straight years.
This segment's brought to you by Woodsman Custom Calls.
Man, I've known Sean a long time. Great dude. He makes a great call. I haven't helped him design the camo cutter, which we saw what that thing did in Missouri this year.
Man, yeah, we had a heck of a trip up in Missouri. Ended up taking 3 birds on that trip.
Yes, sir. That's one of the 11 calls he makes out of his Outlaw series, mouth calls. But he also makes slate calls and glass calls if you need those.
We've had Sean in here on the podcast. Really good guy.
Great call. Designed by killers for killers.
What is up, everybody?
Welcome back to the Hunt Experience, episode
31.
31. Let's go.
We're moving on up.
Kicking them off. I think I'm 20 pounds heavier from Thanksgiving.
Oh, dude. Thanksgiving was awesome, by the way.
Yeah. No, we had a good time.
We had a bunch of family over here.
Nice.
Yeah, I think we had 23.
Do you normally have it here?
We have in the last 2 or 3 years.
Okay, cool.
You know, Grandma kind of phased out. You know, Grandma
Yeah.
was my big Thanksgiving
Sure.
forever and ever.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, and you know, she's just not able to anymore. And
Yeah.
so yeah, we have wife's family over and my family over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
got
so-
a pile of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really good.
I've
We
had
enjoyed
it at my place for probably about the last 7-8 years, and I love it because I hunted that morning, saw a couple scrub bucks, then came back and started doing everybody likes the deep fried turkey. I kind of want to smoke one, but I started getting the oil ready and just I built the fire outside. It was chilly, so I sat by the fire and made sure the turkey was cooking.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good. I got to hunt that evening a little bit, so yeah.
I was going to ask you, have you heard from the boy?
He was in, yeah.
Oh, he came in.
Yeah, came in for about 2-3 days. It was
Oh, fantastic.
funny. He had to. We had our Thanksgiving at 1, and he had to fly out like at 3, so he got to hang out for a
Just a little bit.
few minutes, and then had to catch a plane. But yeah,
Well, cool. That's good to hear. Good to hear.
Yeah.
No, I told the wife, I was like, I really enjoyed this Thanksgiving for whatever reason.
yeah,
And I guess I'm thankful a little bit. Maybe that's what it is.
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Just thankful for the family and
Well, that's kind of what we were. I say the same thing all the time. It's like, yeah, you got a lot to be thankful for. I try really, really hard not to just do it on Thanksgiving. Obviously,
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like living out in the country. People that don't live, is it just kind of like living at the beach? After a while, you just don't really see it. I'm like, oh no, I see it every day.
Yeah. I tell the wife I have pull-up moments.
Yeah.
You pull up in the driveway
Yeah.
or pull up on the food plot or it's just like,
I do not take it for granted. In all these years, I still I'm way into it. Like
I am too.
people that come out, we even had we had quite a few people at our place, and it's like a lot of them just go down. I've cleaned off the whole pool area, all the furniture's gone and everything in storage, but they're just like sitting on the porch, just like hanging out, looking at the mountain, because they don't see that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, exactly.
pretty cool to see other people take it in too.
Oh, yeah. Love it. Like, man, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
And I told Christy, I was like, you know what's a good sign of a good Thanksgiving? She's like, what? I said, everybody ate and nobody left.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody just hung out.
Yeah,
I thought,
exactly.
oh, that's kind of cool,
Yeah.
So, no, I enjoyed it. Good to see a lot of family and just hang out and have a good time, fellowship and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know you had texted me and I was like, oh, yeah, I need to talk. Yeah, Chris texted me and dude, it was like 3 hours later and I was like, oh, crap, I didn't text you
Yeah.
back. So I'm not that big of a jerk normally, but
Yeah, no, I do that. Well, yeah, it happened to us yesterday, right?
Yeah.
I got this Bluetooth speaker, and so it was time to kind of handle the lawn situation, leaf situation, and I turned the radio on. I got the little battery powered mower, so I'm cutting it down, bagging it, and then spraying some stuff on it, burning some leaves. Our basketball goal that's by the pool. Had to cut it up, put it on the dump trailer. So I was outside working, and I came in. It's like, I'm gonna go hop in the shower and get in the stand. I'm like, oh crap! So I missed my wife's phone calls, your text, bunch of the texts. Like I was just listening to
Locked
the
in.
radio, having got a little fire going outside.
yeah, I think it's the weather too, man. When
Yeah.
it cools off, it just feels right.
Go for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
We're not hot and sweating and wasp
Yeah.
chasing us, and
Yeah.
just better.
Definitely makes it nice for sure.
Yeah.
Just kind of like that, that feeling. I love sitting around. I got daughter's birthday's tomorrow, so we're having some girls over tonight, and they were going to go shopping and go have big burgers at Ed Walker's and do all this stuff. And they all said, well, we really want Chris's fried rice for him to build us a bonfire. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's what we'll be doing.
That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like, that make me feel pretty good. They'd rather hang out with me than
Yeah.
go to Ed Walker's and do all that stuff.
What's town got to offer?
Yeah, exactly. Well, most of these girls, all of these girls, they really enjoy
The outdoors.
being out there every time they come over. Like, can we go for a side-by-side ride? Can we ride the golf cart around? Can we? So it's like they want the bonfire and hang out in the country. So
Sure.
that's cool, man. I dig it.
Yeah, that's the way to be, man. Now, I actually got up yesterday morning and I was like, you know what? I'm going to cut some wood.
Yeah.
It's cool. And
Yeah.
I didn't, I can't hunt. Well, I could hunt, I guess. I could take a doe, but it's like, dude, me and Jody been talking about, we're both lost, man. It's like,
what are you going to do?
we don't have anything to chase. And of course, we've been talking about going back to Missouri, but
Yeah.
it's like, where at this point? It's after gun up there and they're all hiding, so it's like, I don't know. I mean, it's like, it's so weird because I don't, like we talked about last time, I can't remember the last time I was tagged out on bucks, and it's like, now what do I do? I mean, it's like,
Let's see, fairly early, I guess.
yeah, well, just normally I'm pushing just like you are for one late season.
Yeah.
And I get into that, dude.
Yeah.
And they start coming back to food, and
Yeah.
that's exciting. And,
Yeah.
I'm just like,
I got all these food plots.
I
and
got all
all
these
that
plots.
stuff.
What am I going to do?
Any action from the 10s? He's still roaming?
Yeah. So, Christy's been hunting a little bit for him, but the last 2 days he's been missing. But,
Yeah.
what day was that? It was before Thanksgiving. We were not hunting for whatever reason. Oh, no, it was we did that chaffee hunt. And,
Yeah.
And me and Larry went together on a chaffee hunt.
Yeah.
And I told the girls, I was like, hey, y'all need to get out there.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, he daylighted 30 minutes after, just hung out for 15. I'm like, oh my gosh. And that's really his big daylight. He's been out right there after dark a few times, but that's it.
Yeah.
We were talking about it yesterday. It's kind of cool because I'm pretty sure he's 4,
Yeah.
There's a big debate online. I kind of watched a pod on it and then some other stuff of the hardest age class of a buck to hunt.
Yeah.
And most all your big hunters say it's 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds.
Yeah. No, I would
Because,
that.
because one guy said, he's like, dude, I kill 6-year-olds all the time that act like 3-year-olds.
Yeah. I've always heard that the older they get, they kind of like
the defenses start going down,
carrying a little bit less,
and loving food more,
and very food oriented. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like us old men. You were all into the women,
Yeah.
or all into women when you're young. But
hunting and turkey now.
Yeah, well, but anyway, so I thought that was kind of cool. He's been difficult, and that's why he's alive.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? And if he was easy, he'd be gone. And so, I would love to let him get by now at this point.
Yeah.
We got 2 days left of gun season.
Sure.
And that's the big push here.
Yeah.
So I'm not to say that Christy, I think, is going this evening. We'll see if he comes out or whatever. But, what's he going to be next year, bro? I mean, seriously.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's one of those, I don't know. That'd be cool for to harvest another one. Cause there's no guarantees he's going to
No. And that's
get hit by a car or come back or move
coming back
miles away or whatever.
Yeah.
So
coming back happens a lot to me here.
yeah.
And just, I think we've got 2 or 3 5-year-olds that we've killed here.
Yeah.
Between Lexi and me, and it's rare.
Yeah.
It's hard to do.
Oh yeah. See, I do not have that. I mean,
Yeah.
I've had a couple, but
Yeah. And I was telling Joe, we were talking about this the other day. So I think for me, being a destination spot, I'm not a rut spot. I mean, this year proved that I'm not a rut spot. It's like the deer vanish once the rut hits. And all the years I've been doing this for however long, it's like 20 years plus now, whatever it's been. For whatever reason, they come back if I had them at 3.
Yeah.
The bucks we killed that were 5, I had at 3. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. And that's, it's really hard to get them to that age anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like, okay, if I can get him to that 4-year-old age and he lives, it's a good chance he's going to come back here.
Yeah.
Now, I won't hold him, but he'll come back here.
Yeah. He'll make an appearance.
Yeah, because either it's the dose or the food, one or the other.
Yeah.
And the low pressure setup, I think that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
It's like, like we talk about all the time. We get into one spot and hunt it, and that's it. I don't go anywhere else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't mess with it. And I think, that's my hypothesis, I guess. But
yeah, I went through several phases this year where I bought the climber and I was just bouncing around all of my property, seeing if I could find what they use, almost just observing, what I mean? And now I'm kind of like, I'm just hunting the edge, staying in where I can get set free. I can get in, which all my stands are pretty much in and out, except for unless I go on the west side, could get a little risky, but
right. And I was going to talk to you about that, and we'll talk it on another pod.
Yeah,
that was something I was going to raise to you. Here I'm pretty much one stand on the whole place.
Yeah,
and I only go in that one spot,
right?
Unless we plan it or something.
Sure.
I don't even go in the plots. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
So I was just wondering if you ever thought about like, all right, here I'm gonna have one spot on my place.
Yeah,
and that's it, not to go. But we'll talk about it another time. That was just something I wanted to raise because I was like, I'm trying to, like, how we do with each other. I'm like, all right, Chris is struggling a little bit on his place. Why?
Yeah.
Let's figure out why.
I honestly think this year, I know it started off pretty good early, and normally I'm late. We've kind of learned that for whatever reason. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But right now I've got a lot of horse trail cutting, they're chainsaw, they got burn piles going, which kind of cuts me off from the mountain a little bit.
Sure.
So I'm wondering
if
that's what's keeping the older age class bucks out.
Well, the other thing for me that just sticks in my mind, and it may not be right, but this is just something I really, really thought about for you. You are good late because you have the only food.
Yeah.
And we know that.
Sure.
That's a given.
And a lot, man, I'm telling you, this year, like I drilled in even the kill plots.
They're rocking.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I went down there yesterday, probably about 12:30 or something, to look at that lower one. And it's like 6 inches tall.
Awesome.
Green, thick.
Yeah. So the only thing I can think of where it really shut off for you was as soon as all the acorns dropped.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure.
And dude, there are so many acorns right now. I get it. I get it. A lot of them are rotten and they're going away and all that. But dude, it's like, you can't walk. You can't walk without just crunching.
Yeah. They're still falling right now.
So if you think about that for you, in my mind, it's like, if a deer can eat anytime at once, why would it come all the way down the mountain to you?
Yeah.
Or whatever. I'm not saying it's just from the mountain.
We've had rain, so they're not hitting the water holes like they were early on.
Exactly.
And all the acorns everywhere. So it's
and then backside pressure you're talking about.
Yeah. If you look at what's behind me is, I don't know what the one side of the mountain would be. Got to be 4,000 plus acres probably.
Huge.
So, I'm sure they're just scattered out everywhere. They don't really have to go a whole lot.
No.
I had some rut activity, but not like a whole bunch of new deer. Let's see, Thanksgiving night, actually.
Is that when you sent me that pic?
Yeah, I almost shot that deer, but man, I started he was 6 minutes before shooting light ended, and I was looking at him like, man, he's a new, that's pretty cool. Man, dude, I think he's 2.5.
Really?
Yeah.
He looked a little young that you sent me, but I was thinking 3. But yeah, you're thinking he's maybe 2.
I think he may be younger than that, or really scoping him up with the binos and looking and checking him out, and got him on camera that night. I was like, dang, I think that deer. I'm glad I didn't shoot him, even though
it's been tough.
Well,
even though it's not been.
He's a decent buck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's late in the season, and
but I didn't have that. I had that like, let me take a look at this deer, let me study, and he stayed out there eating food plot for a while.
Yeah, and if you know, like we talk about.
It's like I didn't get that. I had, instead of getting like, oh my gosh, I need to get on this buck, it was like, let me take a peek at him. Man, and then I really got to study and was like, man, I honestly think he's 2.5 years old, and if he's 2.5, 2.5, 3.5 is kind of tough to judge right there with antlers that big, but his body's so small, his front end is so small.
Yeah.
His face looks so young, up close in the binos. I'm like,
yep.
Can't do it.
Can't do it. Let him go. Let him go.
Yeah.
Let him go. Well, been some bucks running around. Dad finally got on one, but
Yeah.
cut hair, best I can tell.
Yeah.
But I need to follow up. Brother called,
yeah.
said there's some buzzards flying around, so I need to make sure something we didn't miss it. But
Could be.
I hope not. I mean, I really looked for that deer, man, and it did not bleed a drop. And
Yeah.
that's
So
my
he was
curse.
shooting a 7 mags.
Yeah, he's shooting 7, dude. I mean, you know,
that'd be pretty
that's-
bloody.
that's a pretty big
Yeah.
wad going out there. So,
Yeah.
you know, I'm gonna go take a look just to be sure. But
Yeah.
we had white hair and quite a bit of it,
Yeah.
but zero blood anywhere. And I did a whole lot of walking and looking, and
Yeah.
you know which way he ran and all that. So it was a nice 8 too. It was probably the biggest 8 down there.
Yeah.
You know, he just finally come in for him. He's had a tough year, dude. He's struggled.
Yeah. He's been on fire the last, 3 interviews?
Oh, yeah, something like that. Yeah. And so, yeah, he had an opportunity, but I will have to go take a look because I did get the.
And he's got a new deer down there you sent me.
Yeah, but that was one of them rolled through, and that was it. Yeah. I have
Man,
not,
that deer from the front didn't look like, well, when you showed me from the back, how
oh, God.
tall and tight he was, like, dude, that looks like that big one I killed a couple years ago from the back.
Yeah. Yeah.
The front was, his horns almost got like rolled back or something.
Yeah. He's a mainframe 10
Yes.
with some mass,
Yeah.
real narrow.
Yeah.
And then he's got 2 big old kickers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, man, that's a 12 point.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was excited because I was thinking this dude's going to hang out.
So
But
he flew through and
won that. So, I mean, that just kind of tells you that there are a few mature bucks looking for those few remaining does, you know, and
Well, see, I
Pass
kind
it
of wonder about the timing of that too, because like speaking of that big deer I killed, that was the 22nd or 23rd of December when he came in there pushing does around.
oh yeah, yeah,
So I'm like,
Yeah.
was that a third rut?
yeah. He's just forcing it.
Yeah, yeah.
He wants them to be rather they are
Because
not.
that was one of those. That was a returner I had, and they had,
Yeah.
we had him made, said 6.5-year-old deer, and
Right.
he's daylight and pushing does around in almost January. Like, what's happening?
Yeah, I guess he's not going to let it die. Is he's going to keep on keeping on.
Spreading the genes, man.
Yeah. So I don't know. Got my deer done. So this is that.
Yeah,
This is that buck.
yeah, I like it. It's good,
Yeah,
man.
he's kind of cool. Wish he wouldn't have broke off, obviously.
Yeah.
The other guy,
especially the eye guard.
Yeah,
that
well,
tip's not too bad, but the eye guard.
I looked at it I got pictures with him before he broke it, and this one was actually longer than this one. It's like,
Really?
you jerk.
Yeah.
And then this one right here, he broke.
Yeah,
So he'd have been about like that. So yeah, turned out pretty cool.
dark horn. I like
Yeah,
that. That's more,
yeah. I usually put them in the ground
yeah,
just because of how much work that is
yeah,
and how nasty it is.
yeah,
But Jody's like, he kind of talked me into doing it, so I just did it real quick. But
yeah. I've done. Let's see, I've done some hogs where I buried him in the ground.
yeah, that's what I've done for the last 2 or 3 years. Buried
And
them.
then I told you I had that one guy had those whatever kind of beetles, and he just throw it in there.
Yeah.
The beetles like take care of it. That was like really cool. And then I did,
And that was fast, you said.
yeah, real fast,
Mhm.
and it was like $50 or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Just
And
let the
then-
beetles
then
eat.
I did one buck that was that way. I boiled it and then I set it in. What did I say? Like I think it was like borax or bleach, just something like just tied it up in a bucket and let it sit there for a couple of days and then pressure washed it and then it was done. But
Yeah.
yeah, that turned out really good.
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, I like I said, I haven't boiled one in a while, and I ran out of propane,
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
and I went to the wife and I was like, hey, I need to finish boiling this deer head.
What's for dinner?
And she's like, what? I said, I'm going to bring it in and finish boiling it.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, okay. And I don't think it really sunk in what I was asking her.
Yeah.
And then a little bit later, she said, what's that smell?
What are you cooking?
So anyway, I didn't boil it long in the house. I had to go back.
yeah, yeah,
I had to take it to I went to the car wash and
yeah,
just cleaned it up a little bit. But
yeah. That's the roughest part of it is the car wash scene.
yeah, I blew matter all over myself.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. But so I wanted to talk about, and we talked about this a little bit last week, the moon. So let's start off with,
Yeah, you probably know more about this. Now it sounds like you did a 3-hour study. I just listened to a small little podcast when we talked about it last week. Like, oh yeah, I just listened to something on that too. So
yeah,
apparently there's 12 12 total moon phases.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
Okay. So Mississippi State University. Did you ever look at any of their stuff? They're the ones.
I like the ones with
travel,
the maps.
The travel ones.
Those are crazy.
Okay. So that's collared deer.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Yeah.
Well, so what they did, which I thought was really cool. So that they had a panel of 4 people, and 2 of the 4 are like nerdy expert types. You know what I mean? That's just like they talk above our heads when they're talking. You know
some
what I mean?
of that, some even those studies are that way. It's
Yeah.
like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Well, it was really cool the way they did it. So they had this one lady, and she was pretty, intelligent. You could tell, and another guy that was really, just kind of like a really good communicator. And we're not hillbillies like us.
Yeah.
But then they put a hunter, like a hunter guy, and he was involved in the whole study. And so what he would do, she would say some stuff.
Oh, an actual
and
non-scientist type dude.
well, no, he was a scientist. He was like a biologist, but he was like a hunter from down south somewhere.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And so it was funny because they did this study, and she would like lay some facts out, and he would put it in hillbillyese for us
Okay.
to where we could understand it.
I'll have to watch it.
So yeah, no, it's good.
on YouTube?
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's Deer University or Mississippi State University. It's called
Gotcha.
Deer University, but that's who has done the study. So what they did is they collared 60 mature bucks. Okay,
Okay.
so
It's a pretty good sample group, I would say.
yeah, and they said it was, I think, from 3-year-olds to 5-year-olds. So the no young bucks
Yeah.
in it, and it may even be older than that, but they're older bucks,
Right.
3 to 5.
Yeah.
Maybe even a 6-year-old or so. And I didn't hear about if it was, it wasn't an enclosure. It's a big area. It's just like when you see on their map things with the deer travel.
Yeah, though they got that kind of laid out right because there's like
Yeah.
ag and food.
Yeah, it's a
and
huge
thickets
facility.
and
Huge facility. And I'm assuming it's in Mississippi. I'm assuming that. I think it is.
yeah.
So
Makes sense.
yeah, it makes sense. Mississippi State University. So what they did is, like I said, collared 60 mature bucks, and they studied daytime only movement. Okay. And then what they did is they looked at the moon and, what they call it, the theory, I just went blank on it. It's good grief. Anyway, there's a moon theory out there. It's called the solo moon theory, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that. But it is the position of the moon and the phase of the moon.
Right.
Okay. And they looked at each aspect of that. So they looked at the position, and then what they did is said, all right, we got to figure out a way to measure this. How do we want to measure it? So they measured it by yards per hour traveled.
Deer movement.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yards per hour.
Okay.
And then time in bed. So the bedding time and the yards per hour is how they measured this. So you got collared bucks, and what it is they had GPS collars on.
Yeah.
And they pinged every 15 minutes.
Okay.
This was a 2-year study.
Wow.
They did this for 2 years, and they just looked at moon position and moon phase related to deer movement over that whole period of time. And there's a bunch of variables in there.
So
like,
you had everything in there. You had pre-rut, post-rut, rut. For
Okay.
2 straight years.
So yeah, so this is kind of how they broke it down. And this, like I said, I'd encourage anybody to watch this because I'm sure I'm not explaining it the best way. But they so they interviewed a bunch of hunters and said, okay, what is an impactful amount of travel do you think that would be substantial? So most of the hunters surveyed said if a deer moved 50 more yards an hour, that would be pretty impactful, to them. So in an hour's time, whenever that hour was that the moon would affect them, if they moved 50 yards more than they normally moved because of the moon, that would be, significant. Yeah.
Mine would be much higher than that. I want like 400 yards.
Well, okay. So to bring this kind of where we can understand it, they said, all right, well, during this time, we also did a rut study. And we'll just give you a quick synopsis of the rut study. Non-rut movement, yards per hour is 200. Rut movement yards per hour, 400.
Double.
So in that, and from no rut to rut over the whole
This is
group,
daytime
activity,
Okay.
over the whole group of all the bucks, the median or whatever, average was double movement, 200 to 400 during the rut.
Yeah.
That's how much the rut influenced daytime movement. And that's the study, and so they broke that down for you at first, just kind of saying, all right, here's the metric. And then most hunters that were surveyed said, hey, if we could get them to move 50 yards per hour more, that's a substantial amount, which is not a lot if you think about it, 150 feet.
Yeah.
That's not a lot, but if you're in a stand situation like we are, and it's, and then the other metric was bedded time in bed, up or down. So they looked at every aspect of the moon phase and moon position. And then they even looked at the hunter's moon or the red moon that you hear people talk about.
Yeah.
Long story short, and I'll just kind of keep it short. They pulled numbers on all these bucks for 2 years, looking at the moon phase, taking in early morning and evening movement natural.
Yeah.
Okay. Not having nothing to do with moon, that, deer move in the mornings better and they move in the evenings better. Everybody's known that about deer.
Yeah.
And they looked over the whole thing, dude, and they pretty much come up with nada over that whole study. So here is the best they had. So they have, in that theory, they have minor and major movement times,
right,
depending on the moon. Okay. And they predict, in that moon thing, they predict the best feeding time or movement for the deer. So they took those times when they happened on live deer, 60 of them, mature bucks, daytime. And they said, nada.
Doesn't change anything.
Doesn't change anything. Well, the best metric. So on that on that moon phase thing, they give you days also.
Okay.
1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day, 4 day being the best day on their hypothesis. 3 is not as good, 2, and then 1. So, and the way that breaks down is full moon was supposed to be the best in their theory for
early morning
or evening.
Oh, really? Okay.
Movement.
I've always heard early mornings
or movement. Okay. And so if you looked at a moon predictor and it gave you, all right, this is a 4 day, which is that means that the moon is 99% full. That's what a 4 is. 95% full is a 3. 90% full is a 2, and everything below that is 1.
Yeah.
That's kind of how they figured it. Dude, it was 8 yards.
Really? See, I was not expecting that because I listened to it because I was like, well, I was going to ask you, well, are you a believer now? Because I hunted with some dudes that are all in on the moon thing, and I never bought into it.
Yeah.
Never really spent any time on it. I mean, they'd have moon guides and all this stuff that they would kind of go by.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you, like, well, are you a believer now? But apparently,
no, I'm not going to say that I'm not, because I know I've been influenced by Jody.
Yeah.
Jody follows it pretty good.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, all right, dude, they're supposed to move at 11 o'clock today. That's one of the major movements or the minor movements by the chart. And we would see deer.
Do you know what he's using to find out that information?
An
app or something?
I don't know if it's an app. Yeah, I think it is an app. Yeah, I think it is an app.
I've seen some of the apps, but they don't really say, like, it's more so as a hunter, it doesn't matter if you're a moon believer or a non-moon believer that it changes their patterns. You're hunting all phases of that moon. So it's like the ones I've seen, it's like, all right, you're in whatever quarter moon, you're going to be moving midday. You're at waning gibbous, hunt at, the field edge, or kind of tells you where to hunt, not necessarily when. So I was kind of curious as what he was.
Yeah, it was cool because they tried to look at, like I said, they had a hunter there. And so they brought in all of what the hunters kind of think and looked at the data that way. Yeah. Like I said, a couple of these people weren't hunters. You could just tell.
Yeah.
Well,
they read data. I mean,
that's what they do.
Yeah.
I mean, they're scientists, and so the one guy, he was like an advocate.
Yeah.
He said, I'm an advocate. I think the moon phase
Sure.
really affects, and you could tell he was really, upset about,
Yeah. This ain't right.
This ain't right. How could this be? And, like they kept saying, they said, we ping the collars every 15
Yeah,
minutes
that's pretty crazy.
on 60 deer for 2 years.
Yeah.
And we studied the moon phases
Yeah.
along the way. And the best they got for daytime activity movement was 8 yards an hour.
8 yards an hour.
Yeah, which is, 16 steps,
Yeah.
essentially, something like that. That it was affected. Okay, here's the moon phase. This is the best day 4 with the best moon phase at morning or evening, and then added 8 yards. And then the other side of that was, well, how long were they in their beds?
Yeah.
And it was like 0.7
Yeah.
difference when the moon was. So it's like, wow. Okay. So,
Yeah, that's not what I expected you to tell me because I hadn't listened to the study. When you mentioned
I
it,
didn't want to. I didn't want to link it to you at all because I was shocked.
when
To be
you
honest,
mentioned it on the last podcast, I had just watched a podcast on it. And I
completely
started like, I need to,
for it. Mm-hmm.
Well, no, I can't remember the name of the podcast now. It was a younger kid, but he had 2 people on there, and they were both. I remember the guy's name that was against it. His name was Dr. Strickland. I remember that.
Yeah.
He's like a deer biologist or whatever. And he's like, absolutely does not change nothing. The other guy was like, didn't get heated, but he was like, I live here in Ohio, and I can tell you right now, my 8-year-old son can say, Dad, the deer are going to be moving at 11 o'clock today, and we can go drive around and look at all these ag fields, of course. And it's like, the deer will be there.
Yeah.
So he was 100% believer. So they went back and forth on everything. So I'm like, maybe I should dig into that because I've never been, it's a controversial deal
Sure.
anyway. You got
Absolutely.
the moon guys and the non-moon guys. I've always been a non-moon guy, not really a non-moon guy, I guess. I just never thought it would be beneficial for me to really dive into it too much because I'm a weather guy. I like the barometer. I mean, I think there are some. That'd be another cool study because I am a barometer believer.
Well, no, their next study is weather.
Really?
Oh, we got a guy watching.
Yeah.
Because they're going to do the same metric over the 2 years.
Yeah.
And look at like fronts, and oh wow, that's going to be awesome.
Well, we both like the Grant Woods guy. I think the dude's probably one of the smartest guys on the planet when it comes to deer stuff. And I forgot what he says now, but it's something like is overhead underfoot if the moon rises in the first hour of sunrise or something. I don't remember how it went. But
yeah. There's a rising moon.
Yeah,
and then
something like that. If it sets in the morning or rises in the morning, deer are going to be moving more or something. But like I said, I've never really. I hunted with dudes, and they had, they would buy. It was like this wheel, and you would spin
chart
in the day.
Sure,
I'm like,
sure.
What are you doing?
Yeah. And I'm sure guys will argue the fact that, dude, I've killed a buck when this thing said.
Yeah.
But their thing was. And then the hunter guy kind of chimed in on this part. He's like, here's the deal. The information that you're getting from people that are really watching the moon are hunting on that day.
Yeah.
Did it mean the moon?
Yeah, so
did
they brought that up on my podcast. It was like, no, I hunt all phases of the moon. So that was one guy's argument too.
Yeah. And so he's like, they may believe it didn't happen or happened.
Yeah.
Because they were out there.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who's to say that wouldn't have happened regardless of the moon?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the. Well,
this guy was a big. He called it quarter phase. So I guess one of the darker moons. He's like, I'm telling you right now. I'm lucky enough to have a really good rut property, but he killed, he had deer behind him. It's like, this one was killed on a quarter moon. This one was one of my son's deer was killed on a quarter moon. And that's what the guy said. It was like, well, that's because you believe that the quarter moon.
And you're out there.
Yeah. He's like, no, I hunt all phases of them. And we drive around. He's like, and he's a big elk guy too. So he's like, I plan my 2-week elk hunts around the moon.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot of people that do that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's, in their minds, there's some validity to it, obviously.
Well, I mean, if you can, if there's like a magic pill out there, you can predict deer movement. Why not learn about it a little bit at least? Because that's kind of where I'm at right now. Like, since we started talking about it, I just ironically enough had watched that podcast and done a little bit of looking when you said that. And it was like 2 days before that. So I'm like, man, I need to start studying this because if you can, like I said, if you can predict deer movement,
Yeah.
That's a pretty big advantage.
Yeah. Well,
Study says that's not true, but I think it's still worth, having some
Sure.
knowledge on.
and I've always kind of been on the fence and
Yeah.
about it, but I can safely say that I've kind of done all my research.
Yeah.
I've been a camera guy for as long as there's been cameras. I've
Yeah.
I've been a weather guy. I've watched my
Yeah.
own place.
Sure.
Some of you can really study it.
Yeah.
And the thing that reason I didn't get super invested in it is because it was so inconsistent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes it would be spot on.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, they're going to move at 11. Here's all the deer.
Whereas a cold front is not inconsistent at all.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. It's like, okay, the consistency part of it is where I struggled with it, because there would be times where they're going to move this time. This is when it's going to happen. And then there's nothing.
Yeah.
And so, I've always kind of been on the fence. I mean,
Sure.
like I said, Jody's kind of brought it to my attention more than not. And he'd be like, all right, dude, today they're saying this is the movement. A lot of times we see it,
Yeah.
but here's the other side of that for me. And this is just my opinion, but that's in deer. That's not in mature bucks.
Yeah. Deer on all.
Deer.
Yeah.
And that most of the
This
time,
study was based on.
mature deer daylight,
Yeah.
that's what the study was. And so their thing was, it's so minute that they really shouldn't even count it,
Yeah.
the amount. But, like I said, the best metric was like, the best day for this to happen, the moon to really affect it, was 8 yards.
Yeah.
To get that deer would move 8 yards further in an hour than he would when it wasn't there.
Yeah.
But like they said, that's really immeasurable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not even, that could be
I mean, it's cool
error.
data. Cool
It could
data.
be error.
Yeah, it's cool data to have, but how accurat's the GPS caller?
Is that's what he said. That's what he said.
Yeah.
And so, in their whole study, on 2-year study, they pretty much said that the moon really didn't affect mature buck movement in the day.
Yeah.
So take that for what it is.
Oh, interesting, because that's not what I thought you were going
Yeah.
with that, because I was about ready to, I'm going to be diving all in at this,
So-
once I get caught up on all my other stuff, I'm going to be all in on the moon deal.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I still think I'm going to.
Oh, it's worth looking at.
just to have another tool in your tool belt, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, well, maybe.
Well,
because the other thing is when I forgot what you said now, but during that study, it was like the movement early and late, because then you hear, I read something the other day, like, gosh, it was an unreal amount, like 70% of mature bucks are killed from 10 to 2 or 11 to 4, 11 to 3, like midday stuff.
Yeah.
And that's something I really don't do.
Mm-hmm.
I get in way early, but then by about 10:30, 11, all right, I'm wrapping it up. Then I'll hit it. I'll be back out by 3. So I miss kind of that little window a little bit.
Well, see, my opinion on that too is that's kind of pressure driven.
Sure.
A bunch of hunters in the woods, and then they leave the woods.
Yeah.
Coming
in, going out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, I think that plays into it. Now, I'm not saying that's all of it, obviously, but
I've mentioned that before too.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if everybody else is leaving and you're still there, and then you're like, okay,
it's safe.
I'm gonna move around
Yeah.
now. The
Yeah.
noise is gone. So
That dude over there that was smoking his, cigarette and everything, he just got on his side by side and left.
yeah.
I can go now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that. Well, I told you that guy that was, he was after that big buck, and it's like, you don't think they're watching you. They're 100% watching. I got into discussion with this with, the Arkansas boys from Waldron. They came by the shop the other day, and we were all sitting around talking deer and stuff, and talking about deer. No, you're there. And I 100% believe that. And certain occasions, we're pretty fortunate to have our property set up to where
You can slip in there.
it's pretty undetectable to get in, get out. You might have a little bit of foot traffic, but where our foot traffic is, normally deer aren't the way we got them set up. So, but anyway, that guy told the story. Is I could not get on this buck, man. Could not get on him. And one day he was sitting there with a spotting scope, just spotting this ridge, and he was hunting he was cutting corners, thinking the deer was going to cut the corner of the food plot. Well, when he came in, the ridge was in front of him, and he would sneak around the backside, but there was a certain little area there where he could see. He had a spotting scope one day and was spotting around and spotted this buck on the ridge. And after that season was over, he went over there and found a bunch of beds and put stakes in the ground with orange tape on them. It's like everywhere there was a bed, he pulled up. It's like that deer watched me come in from any of these beds. He's watching me come in and slipping over the other side of the ridge. And that's why I couldn't catch up to him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we talked about that at Missouri.
Yeah.
The big buck I did see in Missouri, dude, he was in a place where you could not hunt that deer.
Sure. Yeah.
And he's learned that behavior
Oh, yeah.
over time and pressure.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is still the best place to live, but here's where I'm going to get where nobody can approach me.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, I can
So,
see
yeah,
everything. I can smell everything.
I think that's a learned behavior
Oh,
from
no
by
question.
them. The pressure alone pushes them to that scenario.
Well, in different age, because like we said, the age class deer,
Yeah.
6, 7, in those older deers, like they get more food driven and probably give up a lot of those habits, and they a lot more. It's like, I'm old and I'm.
Which was kind of cool. That was a study that a guy had done in his.
I've seen that on some.
Yeah, his opinion is once they get to 6, they kind of revert back to a 3-year-old to where they're more driven about food and daylight activity.
Yeah.
Because 4 and 5 is their least amount of daylight. It's kind of cool. I mean, and it made sense. It's like the big buck Christie killed from the ground that time all them years ago.
Yeah.
He was a 6.5-year-old. We think he may have even been older than that.
Yeah.
He didn't have no teeth.
Right.
And
could have been.
Dude, he was so food driven.
Yeah.
I mean, just so food driven. And it's like, I think for us, we don't see that a lot because most of the deer don't live to that long.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't even know how to age one after really probably 5.5, 6.5. I wouldn't even know unless you had him for a long time. It's like, okay, he's on the downhill slide. Antler wise, that'd be the only way.
Me too. Me too. And I thought he was an older deer. He's bigger bodied.
Yeah.
And when we took him to the processor, the guy, the dude that works at a processing place, is like, this deer has no teeth.
Yeah.
I was like, really?
He wasn't going to make it through winter, no way.
This is an old man. This is an old man. But dude, he was so food driven, and that's ultimately how we killed him.
Yeah.
Is he just dude, he's like on the food a lot.
Yeah.
And so that's why I took her in there. But
yeah. Also,
I don't know, it's kind of cool.
Read those older age class bucks, they're less likely to bachelor up.
Oh, they're more.
They get 6, 7 years old. They just stay by themselves.
Yeah, they're loners.
They don't want to fight. They don't want to do none of that stuff.
Yeah, it's like chill now, huh? Yeah, I just want to live my.
That's what I've heard.
Peace.
I don't know. Like I said, we don't. I said I killed. Mine was 6.5, and then you've got a bunch of 5.5, 6.5. But I mean, I don't know that I've heard of anybody 7, 8s, 9s around here.
I remember somebody.
But you wonder about that deer that has no teeth. Like, how old was that thing?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you just don't know. And see, I did research just trying to match antlers like we do. That's about the only way we can really know, unless he's got some kind of distinguishing feature on his face or something, which is rare.
Yeah.
I had found pictures of that buck 2 years earlier, and he was like an 18-inch,
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I would assume that deer by the body and everything was 4. So that's why we kind of come up with 6.5.
Yeah.
Because that was 2 years later when she killed the deer. And,
Yeah.
And so you don't really know. I mean, like I said.
I mean, we've seen enough deer in our life where we're probably pretty close.
Yeah. Yeah. But no one for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's if you don't have a tooth to pull.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no, like, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Jawbone, I guess you pull it. And
Yeah.
So I don't know. But anyway, it's kind of cool. But yeah. So there's that. Take it with a grain of salt because on the Moonface side, that's just their study. I mean, the only thing that gets me a little bit about it is, how big is the area they're in?
Yeah.
Is it a realistic study because are these actually captive deer?
Yeah.
Or is it a big area? That's what
if it's anything like the other studies I have, it looks like a very large area from the area.
Yes, it does.
And 70 deer, that's enough to know.
Yeah, 60. He said 60 mature bucks.
Yeah, 60
collared.
60 collared deer.
Which is what hunters care about. Most hunters, not all.
Yeah.
Most hunters want to kill a mature buck.
Sure.
And they want to know, okay, is the moon affecting this buck?
Yeah.
Well, according to them in a 2-year study, it is not.
Yeah.
So there you go. Take that for what it is.
That's not what I was expecting to say because I was like, I'm about to have to go down this rabbit hole and figure out what's going on because I think I had one of those apps like years ago, but it wasn't like today's a good day. It was like, hunt bedding or hunt field edge, or it didn't really tell you.
Well, the red moon stuff they even talked about it some, and the red moon is a 4-hour window to where the moon phase stuff is a 2-hour window. So you have major movement times and minor movement times every day, depending on what the moon's doing.
Gotcha.
And theirs is a 2-hour metric. So,
okay. Yeah.
This from 1 to 3, this from 5 to 6 or 5 to 7, whatever.
Yeah.
To where the red moon was a 4-hour window of time. And they really, the way they talked about the red moon was like, it doesn't do any, there's not even movement at all. So anyway, take that for what it is. I don't know. I mean, it kind of shocked me. That's not what I was expecting. I was expecting to say, oh yeah, no, certain times of the year, this is when you need to be there. But they were pretty much like, nope, we don't really have that information at all. So there it is.
It's kind of like the rut for me. You know, I used to be a big believer, like they're going to rut till it gets cold. You know, I heard that my whole life.
Yeah.
And then you start doing more of your own research by people that know what's going on. It's like rut pretty much happens the same time every year. I don't care what it is, because these deer know this fawn has to drop at this time to survive. They just know.
Yeah.
So, and now I'm on that bus. Like, I think it happens the same time every year within a few days, probably.
Yeah.
And if it's hot like we had this year, it happens at night.
Yeah.
And you really don't see it a whole lot. And that's where I'm at. But, you know,
I agree.
When I was a kid and younger, it's like, oh, yeah, until it gets cold, rut's not going to be here. Like, well, guess what they were seeing? They were seeing cold front movement.
Yeah.
And in my opinion.
Yeah.
But,
which is, you know, we talk about it all the time, but we both structure our hunting around cold fronts.
Yeah.
And especially that for me, like I'm just looking at this season alone, not to mention all the other seasons, but that first hit of the cold is just magical to me.
Yeah.
And I, you know, especially if you got a substantial drop. Oh. If it's a 10 or 15 degree drop, dude, 20.
Yeah.
It's just, if you're watching a buck on your place and he just won't daylight.
Yeah.
He's probably going to daylight. Or he's going to be real close.
That advice yesterday. A kid was hunting one, he's a 3.5-year-old deer, but said, dude, he's come in like almost every evening, but it's like 10 minutes after shooting line. Like, well, you know, it was a couple weeks ago. I'm like, look, here's the day.
Yeah.
Like he could possibly, oh man, I got to work. Oh man, he couldn't get out there, you know. But
Yep.
Yeah, if you have something like, for me, I'm still like, I don't have that buck yet. I mean, I have had some new ones show up, which is maybe starting a trend. We'll see with these colder temperatures.
Yeah.
But you know, right now, there is, like we talked about, so many acorns on the ground. There's so much browse still alive out there to eat.
That 24 degrees though, 2 mornings ago?
Yeah.
With the
heavy
frost. Heavy. Yeah. That's probably going to smoke a lot of stuff.
Yeah. We had a bunch of rain. You know, I told you I did that whole acorn study about the red acorns. They don't really rot.
Yeah. The red oaks. Yeah.
Red oaks. Yeah. So, but the white ones, through all that rain, even the ones I have at my house, like they're definitely kind of dry. And, you know, the weevils have gotten into a bunch of them. So, man, surely. Yeah. You know, if it stays cold like this, they got to start hitting those green plots. I told you that big buck, the one that was all busted up, I had him at 4.5, and he never touched the corn pile. He just, he played literally the way we designed that property. He played the playbook exactly. He came out one corridor, headed a little bit to the south, came through the cut that I put in the plot screen, came right to, he walked down the edge, so we created edge. He walked down the edge of that plot screen, walked the edge of the switchgrass right next to the blind, and then just sat right there in that corner and just fed just the whole time. It's like,
so that's kind of cool. I mean, you see an out-of-towner that shows up.
It does exactly what
he read the script.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, he popped out on a corridor, come through, hit the edge of the, you know, both edges. So you know how it's set up. So edge, through the little slot I brush hogged down the other edge, and then got back in that little cove back there and just
hammered away
there and ate. Yeah, for probably 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's cool to see it work. I mean,
and he was a heavy bodied deer too, man. I'm like, geez, wow. I mean, I wish I knew what he was.
Yeah.
Before he broke everything off.
Yeah, he was all busted up. He's a fighter, obviously.
Yeah, no question.
So there's that, guys. I mean, I wanted to throw that out there. I had really been shocked by it. Honestly. And me and Jody talked about it a little bit, and he's like, dude, I've seen it work. I've seen it work. You've seen it
and
work.
That's the other side of it.
Yeah. And you know, you think back and there's like, all right, dude, it's not, they're not going to move till 11 today, and you'll sit there and not see a thing. And then 11 o'clock hits and it's like deer everywhere.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, not necessarily mature bucks. Deer.
Yeah, that's the flip side.
There's the
whole
side.
thing is like, because I've often wondered that in my house, and even up on the lease where like nobody's out there, it's like it's 2:07. Like, what the crap? Like, what is this deer doing? Or 12:10. Like all of a sudden you get a deer, not necessarily a mature buck. But,
Yeah, yeah.
and my does do that at the house. They'll flip a lot of times. Like,
Yeah.
they're gonna come out. I told you the other evening I had like 11 does and fawns. I just like coming. They were just filtering through from everywhere. I'm like, oh my gosh! And every doe I have, every family group, they were all segmented from the plot screen. So that's another cool thing about.
They were all split up.
Yeah, so everybody was eating, having a good time. Of course, I was stuck in the stand for an hour and a half longer than I wanted to be, but because I was like, I don't want to blow the whole thing out. Eventually, they kind of fed down to the north, and
So you can slip out.
yeah, so I can slip out. But
Yeah.
pretty cool to see. But then 2 days later, it'll be like 7:00 in the morning. They'll be on the lower plot. Everybody's
Yeah.
piled in there, and like they
Yeah.
just flipped over, and then next thing you know, it's like 11:15, and they're over here. Like what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I often wonder when we start talking about that, is that something with the moon or?
Yeah.
So
Right.
I'm still going to kind of research a little bit.
Sure.
'Cause like I said, if it's a
Yeah. That's just one study, man.
yeah,
That's why you
if
got to
it's
look at it.
some sort of prediction where you can actually predict the time of day. And, you know what I mean? Like if it works 50% of the time, what have you gained?
Yeah. Or 20% of the time.
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, if you have success one time,
Yeah.
and that's why you got to look at it.
Well, if we have success one time, I'm buying a big shirt that has the moon. I'll wear it everywhere.
I'm a believer.
I need some success right now. And I told the wife that I was like, I passed that buck, and it was 6 months before shooting light ends. With the scopes we have and the binos we have, but you can see the deer good, and it's like. And I'll probably be regretting it come January. Like, man, I had that buck. He was
mature.
yeah. Well, I don't think he was mature, but his antler size was pretty nice. And him not being mature.
Oh, you're not talking about the busted up one.
No. Well, yeah, the busted up one's one of those ones like, geez, man, like that was a good buck for sure. I guarantee you. But the other one I passed on Thanksgiving evening was
Just young.
I think it was young, but I mean, gosh, it's one of those ones where like, if this deer goes another year, he is 2.5. What's he going to be at 4.5? So I'm thinking about all these things that instead of my heart racing, like I got to get this buck down. So I knew then I was like, all right, I'm off.
Yeah,
Whether I kill a deer this year or not, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not killing this one.
Let him go.
Yeah.
Let him go. Well, and we talk about it a lot. I think it's, we'll see. I mean, the acorn thing rings in my mind. I mean, I went out there yesterday and I was just like, the acorns are touching each other. There's so many of them.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
And it's, of course they've been laying there,
Yeah.
but golly, dude.
Well, I still got them falling. I hunted in that lower plot the other evening and the wind was blowing pretty good. And they're
acorns
still falling out of the trees.
It's crazy.
Hunted down there Tuesday morning, I guess. Yeah, so I'm going to go down there and see what happens. The wind was right. And, dude, I had this, so this is kind of off the subject of what we're talking about, but, you know how, a doe was walk in, we get 1, 2, 3, 4. You can kind of tell, all right, this is moving fairly quickly. And then, you have younger bucks come in a little bit clumsily. Then you have the older deer that take like 2 steps. Silence for, all right, well, I had that going on Tuesday morning. It's like, chick, chick. Limb would break and then silence. I'm like, and I'm the way I got that family tradition stand, I've got it on a big white oak tree, but there's a giant cedar tree right behind me. So I'm not skylit or anything. It's a good spot, but you can't see except for in front of you, really.
You're in the gun spot we set up, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so I'm kind of facing the food plot from the side. It's to my left. And I keep on hearing this noise. I'm like, dude, this is probably going to be a pretty good deer. And he's going to be at 3 yards. And anyway, this goes on for like 35, 40 minutes. Finally walks out behind that big berm I've got there. It's a button buck.
Really?
Yeah.
He went stealth, huh?
I'm like, if this deer is walking like this right now at a button buck, like he's gonna be unkillable, right? I mean, I've never heard that before. For what he was by himself too, so that tells me like his mama's probably with a buck somewhere.
Sure, yeah.
But he was. Dude,
button
it
buck.
took him 20 minutes,
He just taking her easy.
Yeah,
Huh?
and then he went out to the little food plot and kind of fed around and kind of disappeared to the east there. But
Wow.
I was like,
You were pumped.
Well, my heart was kind of getting. I was like, this is going to be an older class deer right here. This is about the way he's walking. But no, that was button buck.
No, he was born this year.
Yeah. So there's that. That's my year in a nutshell.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, we got a couple of days left to gun here.
Yeah.
We'll go here this evening and probably tomorrow evening. And that'll wrap up the guns for us.
I'm almost kind of anxious for it too. Let's see what happens.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm not I used to always bow hunt through gun season, and then once I got burned a couple times by not having a gun in my hand, I quit that. But
Yeah.
I was a hardcore bow. I'm
Yeah.
only killing with my bow. I'm like, I don't do that anymore.
Yeah. No, I may take both. I've done that.
Yeah, I have too.
Yeah. One comes in, he's fixing to come right up here.
Yeah. Well, that's what we talked about a while back. It's like every buck I've killed with my gun, I could have killed my bow easy.
Yeah. Really close.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Easily. So, yeah, I did want to kill something. We got another little Christmas window or something there, I think. But I got that new 45-70. I really wanted to shoot something with that this year.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah, we'll see. When is that? Isn't there a muzzleloader?
Yeah, there's like another little window. I don't remember. I looked at
there's a Christmas hunt.
Yeah.
We got
yeah,
that.
that's like
26, 27, 28.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I think there is like another alternative deal.
I don't know when that
too,
is.
so.
But yeah.
Which I've been carrying my alternative through the whole entire gun
Oh,
season.
have you?
'Cause,
You just want to kill something
I
with it?
want to kill something with that old Henry. Yeah, I think it'd be cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's another thing too, dude. Giant bobcat. Thanksgiving morning. Yeah.
Really? On the plot?
Walked right across the plot.
Really?
I'm talking, dude, probably weighed, I don't know my bobcats, but he had a big old gut hanging down. I was like, I've always wanted to kill a bobcat.
You just didn't decide not
I was
to?
afraid that 45-70 would just tear him in half. So I
Yeah.
just let him walk, but it's super cool because he just like, I didn't even see him on the other side, the eastern side, I didn't see him cross there, but he just like pops out the plot screen and then walks down the middle and kind of stands there and looks. And I slide up in the window and like, gosh, this bullet is huge.
Yeah, and things are beautiful
If
too.
I can't mount him, I'm going to be heartbroken. But yeah, he was a giant. I know we coyote hunted that time. You said you saw one. I never seen him, but this was a big cat.
Yeah, he come up and I just seen his face.
Yeah.
We were sitting, on the ground.
Yeah.
His face was like looking at me.
Yeah. Maybe the same one. 'Cause I've got two.
Do you?
That kind of one of them's small and really spotted. One of them's big and has no spots. Well, my dream would be a big one with spots. And he was giant. So yeah, I was just afraid to. So now I'm like, now I carry my 223, my AR with me just in case he's tested back out again. It's just sitting in the blind. Like,
You're just ready for him now.
Yeah.
And now he's not going to show up,
No, he won't. He won't be back for a month. That's just the way it goes. Yeah, no question.
Well, I have a big one here, but I haven't seen him this year.
Really?
Yeah, it was last year. I videoed him. And they're supposed to be horrible on turkeys and
I know.
all that stuff.
I think this guy probably ate 4 turkeys. Like he was a big. I've only seen one other one bigger, and it was up on the lease on the other side of the mountain. And guess what? I had a 50 caliber muzzle loader, so same deal.
Blow a hole.
Didn't shoot him because I was afraid I'd just tear him up. So
Yeah. Well, that's cool. So guys, I wanted to just talk about the moon stuff a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm not a believer. I'm not saying I haven't seen some predicted times work, but I'm also not saying that it does work either. So I'm kind of in the middle.
The studies kind of seems pretty influential for me, but the only way to really find out would be get to know the moon phase and drive around, get in the woods, and see what happens.
Yeah.
To keep a chart, I used to keep charts all the time on stuff like that too. Like, if you're really into it, write it down. Like, hey, I saw nothing. This is the whatever. Because
sure.
And everybody has a different deal. The guy I listened to, he was like I said, he's a big quarter moon guy. And then I heard some people talk about the blood moon, and then some people. So everybody kind of has their own moons too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we talk about it all the time. I mean, I don't really pay attention because I'm such a cold front influenced hunter.
Yeah.
If it's a cold front, okay, dude, we're going.
We're alike.
Yeah.
In terms of that.
And I mean, even our setups are Northwest setups. You know what I mean? It's like, that's the way my mind works. So I'm sure I'm biased against the moon a little bit because I am such a cold front guy. So there's that. I don't know. So, but hey, food for thought. Go out there and research it, right?
I'll definitely kind of look into it and I'm going to do a little studying on it and see what happens, even if I try it out next year.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need all the help I can get right now.
We all have years like that, man.
Yeah,
I can tell you, it happens for sure. Well, guys, that was our topic for today. Thank you guys for listening.
That was fun.
Appreciate it. See ya.